Okay guys, welcome back to another episode. We have something a little bit different today. I've already started this, so I thought I would just kind of share a very quick or short video on how to make a black walnut stain. There's a variety of uses for black walnut stain. I'm going to be using it for woodworking projects. It's just a wood stain. You can use it as a hair dye, a dye to dye fabric. You can also use it as an ink or kind of like as like a watercolor. A lot of some artists will use that as well. So what basically you just have to do, it's very, very simple. You take the, first put gloves on for sure. You just basically take the husks off of the walnut, and you see how dark that is. That's awesome. Throw that in a bag. It does get gross because there are worms that will, or maggots that will form inside, but those are going to be quickly killed because we're going to put boiling water in a bucket and let it stew around for a while. So basically you just simply take the husks off, put them in a bucket, and the way I'm going to do it this time is soak, that's a big walnut there, yikes. Soak the husks for a length of time of your choosing, few days, few weeks. I've seen some people online will let the stuff soak for a few months. You can also do the same technique, put the husks in a stock pot in boiling water, and basically cook it and reduce it, which is generally how I make this stuff. Cook it down for a few hours. See how green that is. Even though that's green, it is going to leach out all of the tannins, and it'll be as dark as this stuff here. So you don't have to let them turn black. They can be completely fallen off of a tree, freshly fallen, and it can be green like that. All the tannins are going to leach out into the stock pot. They don't have to be black, and I think I probably prefer the husks to be pretty green. That way it has a little bit more moisture in it and it's fresh. So all this is just a simple thing of kind of soaking these husks in water, letting it sit for a while, and it'll just turn into stain. So that's really all I'm doing in this step of the process. It's taking all these walnuts, use as many as you feel comfortable putting in your bucket, and when we move on to the next step of the process, I'll bring you guys along for that part, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back. So I've dehusked all of the walnuts. Again, I chose 50. It's probably too many, but I'm just trying to use up as many as I can. I've used as little as 20 walnuts to make about 2 gallons of stain. You could probably even use less. The stuff seems to be very potent. So I just wanted to show you some of the process here. So I dehusked everything, and I did throw some of the actual whole walnuts in there as well, like I mentioned, because they're very dark, and it'll help deepen and enrichen the color. So what I have on my stove, let me show you my ugly kitchen here, guys. Sorry, it's like really, really bad. Is a very large crock pot that is, I'm having some water boiling or about to boil. And once that comes to a boil, okay, when that comes to a boil, I'm going to pour that directly into this bucket. And from there, it will sit for a length of time. Again, it's all about experimentation. You can probably let it sit for a few days, which I've done that a few years ago. Let it sit for maybe a week rather, and I made stain out of it, and it works fine. Maybe you can let it sit for a month, 2 months, to let it really get thick and really get dark and all that kind of stuff. Like I mentioned before, you can also cook these husks directly in the stock pot. probably takes a little bit longer in terms of like using your stove. You may have to cook that stuff for about 6 or 7 hours total to reduce it down. So I'm just using a different method this time. I'm going to be pouring the boiling water directly into this bucket, and when I get to that step of the process, I'll show you guys that, and I'll be right back, all right? Okay, guys, we're back. So just about to pour, not that you need to see all this stuff, but I'm going to pour the water, which has been boiling in this giant stock pot, into this Home Depot bucket. Hopefully not getting steamed out. I just got steamed out. Can't see now, my glasses are all fogged up. And you could see how dark that water is already. It's incredible. It doesn't take much. That's why I don't think... Oh shit. My wife's going to kill me. Sorry, I just spilled a little bit of water. Not much. So, it's a pretty big stock pot. I think it's, I don't know how many gallons it holds, but so this is basically all you do with this particular process. You just let it stew and sit in here for a good length of time. And as you can see, this water is already really dark. And I guess it'll thicken a little bit. I don't know if it will thicken, but it'll probably evaporate over time. And what you will get is, let me take these gloves off here. What you will get is a stain that is just this color. And this is sealed, so I don't want to open it, but I did put some alcohol in this. Some very quick research was telling me that that is a way to preserve it, I guess, more or less naturally, so mold doesn't form. But I've made some a few years ago without alcohol in it, and no mold has formed until you open it and start using it. I guess bacteria gets in there, but I'm using it for wood. I'm not using it for my spoons. I'm just using it for woodworking projects, and it's okay. I'm not really selling this stuff, but I'm thinking about it, which is why I started putting alcohol in it to see if people would be interested in it. But it's not, again, it's not so much about trying to sell things. It's really about experimenting and trying natural, making natural products which would benefit my life. So you can see just how dark this is. And that's basically the end result. You'll get a very dark stain that stains really well. You know, this bucket will definitely make a lot of it. So I'm going to let this stew for a while. And that's really it, guys. It's pretty simple. I mean, if you do it the other way, where you take this giant stock pot and cook all of this stuff in it, that works really great. It speeds up the process, but it does take a while in terms of using your utilities. I have a gas stove, so I basically have to have my stove running for at least 6 hours if you're going to make a big giant stock pot of it. You can make it in smaller batches where you maybe don't have to cook it as long. Like I said, do your own research to experiment. Like, I've seen people cook it as little as 1 hour, and some people say cook it for 12 hours, you know, and I guess it varies on how you want the stain to turn out. So I hope this was useful and helpful to you guys. It's a quick little, about 10-minute video just on the process on how to make a very simple, natural wood stain for your projects using black walnuts and the husks. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Catch you on the next video, guys.